It's the more energy part and the higher testosterone part and the higher libido part and just all the good things that go with building muscle when you're just starting out. Hey guys, Mark McKillier with Live Anabolic, and today I'm going to talk about how to start building muscle for beginners. All right, we got tons of guys, different levels of fitness watching our video today. So for you beginners, this is really going to be eye-opening. For you guys that are more intermediate or advanced, you probably know a lot of the things that I'm going to cover, but some of them are going to be kind of nice surprises. So stick around, guys. I got great news, especially for you guys that are beginners. All right, so the good news is for you beginners out there, y'all get the most bang for your buck. Absolutely. It's the most fun time of your entire fitness career, so to speak, and that's when you're beginning. All right, yeah, it might be hard and painful for the first few weeks or month or two, but it's the most fun because you see the most results. All right, I mean, it's just amazing how much your body changes in the first 3, 4, 5 months. All right, and it's not just the building the muscle part; it's the fat loss part. All right, and it's the more energy part and the higher testosterone part and the higher libido part and just all the good things that go with building muscle when you're just starting out. All right, so for guys that have been doing this for a while, for myself, man, I've kind of reached my genetic potential. I can't build a whole lot more muscle. I would have to go to extreme levels to add another 5 to 10 pounds of muscle, and I'm just too damn lazy. I'm not lazy. I work out all the time, but to do that at my age and with my advanced level, it's just so much harder. So beginners, you guys get that hockey stick growth curve, okay? For guys that have been doing this a long time, we've kind of plateaued and we're just trying to maintain the muscle. Now, for guys that are intermediate, you guys can still build muscle, okay? You're not even close to your genetic potential, but man, beginners are gonna love the first few months. Okay, so I have 5 different points today, starting with number 1, and that is, you hear this all the time, guys, experts say you can't work out every day. Well, that is completely false, okay? There are so many variables that go in to deciding how often you work out that statement is just flat out false, all right? So what really matters is not just how many days a week you work out, but how those workouts are structured. So these are the variables that you have to consider when you're talking about, don't work out every day versus work out 2 days a week or 3 days a week or whatever it is. It is how many times are you working the same muscle group per week? How much rest you get in between workouts per muscle group, right? So if you're doing biceps on Monday, you can work your legs the very next day. That's 2 workouts in a row, right? Experts say don't work out that often. Nah. So when you're working your legs, you're not touching your biceps. Your biceps are still getting rest. You're still recovering. So it's the muscles that you're targeting, how often you work them out, but not just how often, it's the intensity and the volume that you throw at each muscle group. And that intensity and volume will determine how much rest you need in between workouts for that particular workout. Not for you generally as a human being. You can still work out 5 days a week. It's just how much time and intensity do you throw in to working specific muscle groups? That's the key, guys. Okay, so this brings me to tip number 2, and that is, guys, I know I'm biased, okay? I'm in this industry, but you need a structured workout program to follow, okay? I see this all the time in our Facebook group, people asking beginner questions. And, I answer them, and then on top of that answer, I always say, hey guys, you need a program. And you really ought to check out my program, okay? I'm just saying it right off the top here. My Fit After 50 program has been hugely successful for the last 3 years. Okay, I came out with it 3 years ago and it just went bonkers. We're selling this thing all over the world. Well over 100,000 men have already done the program with fantastic success. You see a lot of them actually in our Facebook group talking about it. But the deal is, guys, I spent a lot of time in research when I came up with the program, and it really is designed to help beginners get started. All right. So I don't care if you're 40 or 50 or 75. Okay. If you have never worked out, or if you haven't worked out in, say, 10 or 15 years, and a lot of you guys haven't worked out in 20 or 30 years, you're still a beginner. Just because you worked out when you were, 25 and now you're 55, doesn't mean you know what you're doing. All right. You're still a beginner. It's been 30 years. So you need a professionally designed, structured program to follow. Okay. And so my Fit After 50 program is just that. And like I mentioned in tip 1, experts say you can't work out every day, right? Especially when you're a beginner. Well, that's not true. And for the reasons I mentioned in tip number 1. So my Fit After 50 program, for example, in phase 1, this is the beginner, I have you hitting every single muscle in your body on Monday. And then I have you hitting every single muscle in your body again on Wednesday. And then on Friday, I have you hitting every single muscle in your body 3 times a week. Well, how the hell can that be? All right. Well, there's tons of variables in there. One of the variables is how you do the workouts. So in phase 1, everything is structured in a circuit style. I'm not going to go into the details here. It's in my program. But what happens is even though you're hitting all your muscle groups, you're not hitting them hard. You're not doing real high intensity. You're not doing high volume, okay? And you're keeping things relatively easy on your central nervous system, all right? And that's why you can do them 3 times a week, all right? So it's more of a cardio style when we do it in a circuit fashion. You also get something called the EPOC effect, excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. It means you burn more calories even after workout's over. But guys, my Fit After 50 program is broken into 3 distinct phases. All right, and that was phase 1 I just mentioned. Phase 2, we radically change up the way in which I have you work out every week. And then phase 3, I do it all over again. That's one of the reasons why it's so effective, and it's also one of the reasons why it's fun and interesting. You don't get bored doing the same thing month after month after month, and when you're not bored, you tend to do it, all right? So it makes it fun. Fun means, hey, you kind of look forward to some of these workouts. It means you don't stop doing them, and it's just consistency, guys. So if I can create an interesting program for you, it means you're much more likely to stick with it, and that is the key to success. All right, tip number 3 on how to start building muscle, especially for you beginners. Take notes, guys. Keep track of what you're doing, because it's just, you're going to forget. You're going to forget where you started. How much were you lifting on day 1 for certain exercises? And that's why following a structured program is really important, because when you follow a structured program, you're doing things in a very specific order. And my workouts are designed so that the entire week's worth of workouts are printed or designed on one page. So you just print one single page, and that's every single exercise you're going to be doing with instructions on one page. And there's a column for notes. And that column is where you just write down how much weight you were using with those dumbbells for that particular exercise. How many bands, what color bands, resistance bands were you using for a different exercise, okay? And then when it comes to week 2, you print out the same form again, and you got a new blank sheet, and you can compare it to week 1, all right? And so you just write down notes and keep track of what kind of weights and resistances that you're using on every single exercise. And this gets really important for guys who finish the 3 phases and then start back over and repeat. And that is most of the guys that do Fit After 50 repeat the program over and over again. And so it's really fun. Those guys email me and post on our Facebook group how much they've improved, how much stronger they've gotten from the first time around. And the only reason they know that is because they took notes. All right. So that's the key, guys. You got to take notes. And another thing is just take pictures. Progress pictures are fantastic. All right. It's not just about reading your weight on a scale. It's really more important about what you look like in the mirror. So taking progress pictures and taking notes is a really important thing you need to do on a regular basis to build muscle. All right, tip number 4, guys, is nutrition, and more specifically, the protein part of your nutrition. All right, so we're talking about muscle building in this video. We're not talking about fat loss so much, all right? So protein is the key to building muscle. And that's because when we work out, we are intentionally damaging our muscle fibers. I mean, we're creating millions of little tiny microscopic tears in these muscle fibers. And that sends signals to your brain. It tells your brain it needs to ramp up its production of testosterone because testosterone is really good for helping your body synthesize the protein that we eat and then use that protein to repair the damaged muscle fibers. And of course, you know, what goes on is your body's smart. So when it repairs those muscles, they grow back just a tiny bit bigger and a tiny bit stronger than before we damaged them. And of course, you do that over and over and over again, and that's how our muscles grow, just little bit by little bit. And remember, it's so slow, you don't really notice on a daily basis. Hence, that's why you take the progress pictures. You can compare last month to this month, and then you go, wow, man, huge difference in my chest, my arms, whatever it is. So protein's important, and as a general rule of thumb, very general, you need about 7/10 of a gram of protein for each pound of body weight. But not just each pound of body weight. It's for each pound of your body weight goal. So if you weigh 300 pounds and you know that you need to lose 100, because 100 of it's just excess fat, that your ideal body weight would be around 200, you need 7/10 of a gram for 200 pounds of ideal body weight. You don't multiply 0.7 times 300, your current, all right? So that's how you figure out how much protein. And if you're not getting enough protein on a daily basis, guys, that means your workouts are not going to be as productive at building muscle as they could be. So why kill yourself? All right, so some guys are really gung-ho about their workouts, and then they just screw off when it comes to the nutrition. So instead of getting 100% potential growth out of your workout, if you're not getting enough protein, you might only be getting 60% of that potential muscle growth. And the only reason you're not getting 100% is because you're not getting enough protein. Simple as that. Okay, so the 5th and final tip for building muscle, especially for beginners, that is, guys, you don't realize how important sleep is. If you're not getting 7 to 8 hours a night, it's kind of like not getting enough protein that I talked about in the previous tip. So let's say you're getting 5 hours of sleep a night, and you're kind of groggy and everything. Well, guess what? You're killing yourself in your workouts, and instead of getting 100% growth, you might be getting, 50 or 60 or 70% of the potential growth just because you're not getting a rest at night. All right, so it's not just the rest of the sleep. All right, so what's going on when we're sleeping at night is, of course, that's when the muscles are starting to repair the damaged fibers, but it's also when your body produces the majority of those feel-good hormones. All right, so most of our testosterone is produced at night when we're sleeping. And testosterone and its importance is a completely separate video, and just search this YouTube channel because we got lots of videos on its importance and how to build it. But testosterone is really important for building muscle and burning fat. But if we're not sleeping enough at night, man, there's a whole host of things. It can increase your levels of cortisol, which is a stress hormone, and the more cortisol you have, the less testosterone your body can produce. And so there's just all kinds of things that can go wrong when you're not getting enough sleep. Now, I realize every once in a while, it's gonna suck, all right? But I'm talking about on a consistent day in, day out, week after week type basis. So it's fine to have a night or two where you're only sleeping 5 hours because of something going on that you can't control. But I'm talking about the majority of the week, get as much sleep as you can. It will really help build muscle. All right, so building muscle is not a sprint. You can't do it in a week or two. All right, it takes time. And what does that mean? It means you have to be consistent and stick with it and never give up on yourself.